Hello, math makers. Thank you for joining me again for part 3 of solving subtraction word problems using the cubes method. I decided, since this was so brand new, to do multiple videos on this just to kind of give us that extra practice. Because like we said in part 2, every time you're learning something new, you need extra practice. That's what makes it easier. So we're trying to provide that for you. As we get started today, let's review what cubes is. We know that C stands for circle the numbers. We know that U is underline the question. We know that B is box the keywords. E is eliminate extra information, that stuff that doesn't really belong or doesn't really help us solve the question. And S is solve and check your work. So with knowing all that, we're going to move forward and let's touch on some things that we just need to know when we're solving subtraction word problems or equations. We need to know some basic terminology. It'll help make it easier. First is when we're solving subtraction, we have the minuend, subtrahend, and difference. The minuend is the number we're subtracting from. In elementary school, usually that's the largest number. And the subtrahend is the number we're subtracting. We're taking it away from the minuend. So that's the number we're subtracting. And the difference is the answer to a subtraction question. It is the difference between the minuend and subtrahend. That's why it's the answer. It's the difference. And when you put all of that together, that makes an equation. Now, when we're doing cubes, one of the things that we talk about is boxing the keywords. Well, we need to know what those keywords could be. Now, this is a list of some of the ones we see the most. It may not be all of them, but these are the ones we see the most. So I want to make sure we know these, because if you see these, this is like your password. This means subtract. Okay, so let's look at these, and this will tell us how to solve a word problem. We see difference, less than, take away, minus, fewer, left over, have left, or you might even see just left, remain, minus, how many more. If you see any of those, it usually means it's time to subtract. So I do want to go over those every time we do a subtraction cubes video, just to kind of help us remember. So the first question we're going to do today is we're just going to practice the cube. We're not going to go through all the steps for solve and check your work. Just going to do cube. And I want to do at least one of those every time, just because, again, it's that practice. Once we can find the cube, it makes the S a whole lot easier. So let's look at this word problem. Zoe went to a farm. She picked 48 strawberries. She took away 23 of them for later. How many strawberries remain for Zoe? So now, if you remember, our first step is circle the numbers. Now, I want you to look at the word problem for a minute. Do you see any numbers in the word problem? What are they? Hopefully you said 48 and 23. So next step is U. What does U stand for? Underline the question. That's right. So when we look for the question, we've been telling people to look for the question mark. And when you find the question mark, you found the question. So we look for the question mark and we find it right here. Now, I saw some students earlier today, when they found the question mark, they just underlined this bottom part right here. But that's not where you stop. You have to go to the very beginning of the question. So you have to go here and then go up to how many as well. We can stop there because we see a period. So that ends that sentence. And then this capital letter begins our question. So our question would be, how many strawberries remain for Zoe? Our next step is B. What does B stand for? Box the keywords. Do you see any keywords in there? We just went over the list. What do you see? I see two different keywords. Either one you found would help you solve the question. I see took away and I see remain. So in this word problem, there are actually two keywords that can help you figure out how to solve the question. And both those mean subtract. So far, we already know what numbers we're going to use. We already know what we're being asked to figure out, and we know the keywords, and so we know we have to subtract. Our next step is E. What does E stand for? Eliminate extra information. Is there anything in that question that we don't need to know? There is something. Zoe went to the farm. It really doesn't matter where she found the strawberries. All we need to know is that she had 48 and she took away 23, and we need to know how many remain. And that's how we would go through it. So now it's time to solve and check our work. If we were doing the S on this one, and we're not, but we are going to do it on our next question. So let's keep moving. Jordan collected 38 stamps. He used 21 of them to send cards to his friends. So nice, Jordan. How many stamps does Jordan have left? So again, let's go through our steps. C means circle the numbers. Look for the numbers in this question. What are they? I'm sure you found 38 and 21. Next, we're going to do U, and U stands for underline the question. Look for the question again. We're looking for the question mark. What is the question? That's right. How many stamps does Jordan have left? After the U, we do the B. What does B stand for? Box the keywords. And do you see any keywords in the word problem? Hopefully you saw have left. And have left tells us that we need to subtract. Next, eliminate any extra information. There really isn't any extra information. We could say that sending them to friends, but that's not really, because sending them means that it's going away. So if anything, that could actually help us figure it out. So we're going to go straight to solve and check your work. Now, at this point in time, we know the numbers, we know what it's asking us to figure out, and we know that it's subtraction. So what is our equation going to be? Which number is going to be the minuend? Which number is going to be the subtrahend? Hopefully you said 38 minus 21. Now when we solve this, we're going to use the break apart method, and we're going to break apart the subtrahend. If I'm breaking apart the subtrahend, what two numbers am I going to break that 21 into? 20 and 1. Now that we've broken it apart, we can do our first step. And our first step is to subtract. What am I going to subtract? 38 minus 20, because that's the first part of the break apart. 38 minus 20, that's 2 tens. That means that's 2 jumps. So we go from 38 to 28 to 18. That's right. Now we've subtracted the 20. What do we subtract next? We're not done. The 1, that's right. And we subtract it from where we left off. And we left off at 18. So we're going to take away that 1 from 18. Do you know what 18 minus 1 is? Just take away 1. What's it going to be? 17, that's right. So if we've subtracted the 20 and we've subtracted the 1, we know that 38 minus 21 must be 17. So Jordan has 17 stamps left. Very good. Next, this will be our last question today. Cortez went to the zoo and took pictures of 57 animals. His camera lost some of them. Cortez still has 35 pictures. How many pictures did his camera take away? So again, first step is C. What does C stand for? Circle the numbers. That's right. Look in the question. Do you see any numbers in there? 57 and 35. That's right. Next, we're going to do U. And what does U stand for? Underline the question. Again, can you find the question in there? Look for that question mark. Hopefully you found that question mark here and you identified how many pictures did his camera take away. All right, next is going to be B. What does B stand for? Box the keywords. Do you see any keywords in this question? Take away. You could even say lost maybe, but that's not really an official word. But if you lose something, obviously you're taking it away, you're subtracting it. So take away is correct, and take away, of course, means to subtract. Is there any extra information? There sort of is. Cortez went to the zoo. It doesn't matter where he took the pictures. We just know that he took some. So now it is time to S. And what does S mean? Solve and check your work. So when we solve our equation, this one is an interesting question, and we did one like this in our last lesson. Our equation is actually going to be 57 minus x minus a question mark we don't know equals 35. We know he had 57. We know his camera lost some, but we don't know how many, but he still has 35. And we learned last time that when you have an equation like this, that the way subtraction works, and it's really neat how it works, that you can actually swap those two, the subtrahend and the difference. And again, we said 5 minus 2 is 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. You can swap that 3 and 2, and it doesn't change that fact family. So we still can make this work. So we're going to swap those two. We're going to move the unknown to the difference, and we're going to move the difference to become our new subtrahend. So our new equation is going to be 57 minus 35. Again, I'm going to use the break apart method. If I break apart the subtrahend, what am I going to get? 30 and 5, because I have a 30 and a 5. And then we're going to subtract the tens, and we have a 30 in the tens place. And I'm going to subtract that from our menu end, which is 57. 57 minus 30, that's 3 tens, that's 3 jumps. So that's 57, 47, 27 is hopefully what you got. We've subtracted the 30. Now it's time to subtract the 5. So our next equation is going to be 27 minus 5. Again, just take away 5. It's okay to use fingers. 26, 25. Did you get 22 as well? I did. So we've subtracted the 30, we've subtracted the 5, which means, and we have 22, which means that 57 minus 35 is 22, which means his camera took away 22 pictures. That's it for the practice today. Thanks for sticking with me. You're getting better at this every day, and I like seeing it. Until next time, we'll see you later.